Hello, my name is Simon Owens, and today I wanted to talk about YouTube advertising. And specifically, I want to say that if you are a YouTuber who isn't among the most elite YouTubers, the people with, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million plus subscribers, that if you want to make a living on YouTube, you should go about it in terms of building your business plan with just the assumption that advertising alone, at least the shared advertising that goes on within YouTube's AdWords program, is not going to be enough to allow you to make a living off of it. So for the uninitiated, I'm sure if you've viewed videos on YouTube, you've seen these pre-roll advertisements where it's usually about 5 seconds of an ad, and then it gives you the option of to skip the ad or to continue watching it. Basically, YouTube offered this program several years ago in which you would start running these pre-roll advertisements, and if you allow these pre-roll advertisements to appear on your page, you would get a cut of the revenue. You would get about 55% of the revenue, whereas YouTube would take about 44%. And when this first launched, we saw story after story of these so-called YouTube millionaires, people like PewDiePie, which is the most popular YouTuber, or at least was. I don't know if he still is, where they were making upwards of several $100,000, even sometimes over $1 million a month. And it just seemed like, wow, YouTube is this new, really a new avenue in terms of people pursuing their creative process and building an audience and really being able to monetize that audience effectively. And so people who are outside of that system really thought that for, at least from the outside, it seemed like YouTube was really good for creators. And I'm not here to argue that it isn't. It's just that all those initial reports kind of overestimated how easy it was to actually make a living with YouTube advertising. And the vast majority of YouTubers have, even ones with upwards of 1 million subscribers, have struggled to make money on the platform. This was really kind of opened up and exposed with a piece last year from YouTuber Gabby Dunn, who has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, generates millions of views each month. And yet she has had, just to make a living and scrape by, she has had to have various like waitress jobs and serving jobs just so that she could pay her rent. So she really burst that entire bubble on the idea that all these YouTubers who had these massive audiences were making a lot of money. And some of the reporting, you see all these news organizations who are pivoting to video because video has a much higher CPM, cost per thousand impressions, in terms of the advertising rates, and you're seeing claims that online videos are getting anywhere from like $50 to $75 per thousand views, which, if true, is amazing. But on YouTube, that just doesn't seem to be the case, except for really kind of niche consumer channels. I think the average I read somewhere is something like $5 CPM. But in a lot of cases, I've seen YouTubers who are reporting less than $1 CPM on their videos. That means if you get 1 million views on a video or in a single month, you're only making $1,000 a month. I remember reading of one YouTuber who spent tens of thousands of dollars making a music video, and he published it on YouTube. It did really well, got over 1 million views, and he only got a check for like $150. Coincidentally, that guy went on to found Patreon, which I'll talk about in a second. So a lot of these YouTube creators go in. They're like, oh, I'm gonna get a slice of the advertising pie, but really just. The problem is, it's not necessarily YouTube's fault. It's just that there's just so much supply for that doesn't really meet or the demand isn't able to meet the supply. There are billions of YouTube views that are served up every day, and while not all of those are monetized, a lot of those channels are monetized. And while a lot of advertising is slowly migrating from traditional TV to online, that cascading effect hasn't happened. It hasn't been some kind of deluge of movement to online video advertising. Right now, it's a lot of this whole move and pivot into video is speculative. So it's just really hard to spread out those ad dollars across all those billions of views. And so naturally, there are a lot of people who are building these audiences that just aren't seeing a lot of advertising to it. And what made it worse was what's called the Adpocalypse. This happened a few months ago. There was a lot of bad negative publicity that YouTube received where some companies found out that their ads were running on YouTube channels that had really extremist content, white supremacist content, terrorist content. So Google, which owns YouTube, was very reactive to this bad press, and so they started instituting all these new controls that basically did something called demonetization. That meant that if its algorithms deemed a video as being inappropriate in any sort of way, that it then removed all advertisement from that video, meaning that the creator, even if they got millions and millions of views on it, they would not make any money from advertising. So this seemed like it was solving the problem, but a lot of these YouTubers are saying that things that are being demonetized for being inappropriate, they can't even really figure out what's so inappropriate about it, and it seems to be inconsistent. If there's like even a little bit of hints of some kind of risque content, let's say you're a social advocacy organization and you're talking about women being raped or anything, children having violence acted upon them, even though obviously you're not advocating for this, YouTube's algorithm isn't able to differentiate between someone advocating for violence or inappropriate content and someone just simply reporting on it. So some YouTube channels, they never quite understand why something was completely demonetized. So after that, some YouTube channels saw a 75% in their drop in their ad revenue, which I will already remind you wasn't always that great to begin with. So it's made the monetization on YouTube way less consistent and way more unpredictable, which, if you're trying to make a living on YouTube advertising where this is your full-time job, you need that sort of stability and predictability in order to make it month to month. So basically, I'm not saying that you can't make a living without being within like the top 100 channels on YouTube, but you just have to start getting more creative. Yes, you can turn ads on and use that as part of a diverse revenue stream, but you by no means should be able to put all your eggs in that basket. There should be alternate forms of monetization. One thing that's been, if you watch any YouTube channels, you've seen this reference before, Patreon. It's kind of like a membership platform. It seems like now like every major YouTuber is on it. It allows you to take your super fans and ask them for a monthly membership fee, whether it's $1, $5, $10 or more. In exchange for that, you continue to create the free videos, but then you might also offer extra things. You might offer to create little private videos that only your Patreon subscribers can see. You might give them access to a private Slack group or a private Facebook group. So lots of little, you might create little merchandise that you give them for free. Lots of little goodies like that. So that's a major way that a lot of these YouTubers are supplementing their videos. Live events is another one. Obviously, YouTube is a very visual platform. People are creating a very personal connection to you. So if you're popular enough to where you can actually sell out venues or team up with other YouTubers and get them to pay, scheduling regular live events in major cities, trying to figure out where your fans are amassed and then travel to them, that's another major revenue. Merchandise, I'm seeing a lot of this where people are creating basically t-shirts with their YouTube channel's logo on them and using that to sell. And then there's another kind of advertising I'm seeing more and more. It's similar to the kind of podcast advertising, and that's basically host-read ads, where you find a single sponsor I've seen a lot of with like the Squarespaces, the MailChimps of the world, the same things you see on a lot of major podcasts. And at the end of the video, you thank your sponsors, show the logo, and all that. Obviously, this is that's harder. It's easier said than done because it takes really work to go out there and find sponsorships. But once you're getting into a high enough rate you're getting a few million views a month, hopefully as long as you're making it easy to contact you, you are getting some business inquiries and forming those relationships. And lastly, this is a platform that I'm not really as familiar with, but I have seen that a lot of YouTubers, while they're staying on YouTube, are also doing some live streaming on Twitch. Twitch has some monetization offerings in which users can basically offer money and rewards and stuff like that is paid directly to the creators. So yeah, this isn't really a bash on YouTube. It's more kind of directed towards YouTube creators and online video creators that as they're starting to amass a following and as they're thinking about, hey, could I quit my job and work on this full time? To really kind of diversify your monetization, build up a robust business plan, and do not, under any circumstances, put all your eggs in the basket of YouTube sharing its advertising with you, because in most cases, you're not going to reach that super elite status in which you can make really good revenue on YouTube. All right, that's all I have to talk about. Thanks for watching.